You are listening to the In Between Sales Calls podcast with Derek Shebby, episode 65. Welcome, everyone. The other day, there was an article that was shared by one of my contacts on LinkedIn, and it was about the secret to success. And there's all of these different tips inside of this article. The overwhelming secret to success was being consistent. So obviously, consistency is doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, and just obviously perfecting it and just not swaying from what you're doing, right? Basically habits, right? Forming habits. Based upon this article, though, I don't necessarily agree wholeheartedly in the answer that you need to be consistent, because you could be consistently doing the wrong thing. And if you're consistently doing the wrong thing, you're not going to get successful. I mean, you might get some success, but you might not get the success you're looking for. Here's an example. Let's say you want to get physically fit and you decide to consistently do one push-up a day. So one push-up every day. Now, if you're doing that one push-up every single day, then eventually you'll start getting more physically fit. Sure, eventually, but it's going to take quite a bit of time. Now, on the flip side, if you took that same amount of drive and you said, I'm going to hire a personal trainer to work with me every week, and it's just you and your personal trainer every week, what do you think your chances of success are? Probably much higher, right? Because now you're working with someone that knows exactly what you should be doing. And you could be sure that when you're working with them, they're going to make you work, right? So being consistent isn't necessarily always true. It could just be something that works, that could take you a long time being consistent to get to where you want to go, as opposed to, getting there on a shorter period of time. The same thing happens when we look at things like golf, as an example. And I talked to a sales rep yesterday about this, and he's doing great. The guy's making $400,000 a year in commissions and total salary, total output, and he's just doing amazing. And he says to me, I want to get better. And I asked him, I said, hey, well, do you play golf? And he says, yeah. I said, how often do you play golf? He says, whenever my buddies go out there. And he's like, I know how to play. I said, great. You know how to swing the clubs. You know how to play the game, right? And he goes, yeah. I said, well, have you ever actually been coached by a pro golfer? He said, no. I said, well, how do you know you're doing everything correctly? How do you know that the way that you're holding the club is correct? How do you know that your swing is correct? How do you know how you're approaching the game is correct? How do you know? If you worked with a pro in the beginning, you know that if he continues to be consistent, he's going to have much more success than other people because he's being successful doing the right things. I have this rep that just today passed a milestone for him in sales, and he crossed $100,000 written in 1 month. It's a huge number in this industry, considering, that's a monster month. And I asked him this. I said, hey, so last year at your company, how much did you write? How much did you actually sell? And he said, Derek, in 6 months or less than 6 months at this company, I did almost 100,000, almost. And I said, what about the job before that? What about the previous 6 months? He says, Derek, well, in the previous 6 months, I did 260,000 in revenue. So he goes from 260,000 to almost writing another 100,000 to the first month of this year writing over 100,000. I said, what do you think it was that did that? Because you were consistently doing things the whole time, weren't you? And he goes, yeah, I was consistent. I was working every single day. I was doing everything I was being told to do and doing the best I could. And that's the results I got. And I said, what do you think the difference was? He says, well, I'm following your process. He's like, and now following your process, I'm seeing that in a shorter amount of time, a much shorter, specifically this month, I sold more than I did in the last 6 months. I feel great. And that's an example of what happens when you're consistent. Are you consistently doing one push-up a day, hoping to eventually get better? Or are you working with a personal trainer? Or are you working with someone that knows exactly how to get the results for you? Well, let's relate this to sales. Outside of this one guy's example that I just told you, one of the people I've been working with and coaching. What about sales? Well, in sales, you could be spending your time, same thing, doing things that just aren't effective. You could be consistently doing things that aren't effective. Here's what I mean. You could be spending your time researching accounts. You could be spending your time cold emailing accounts and putting the perfect email together. Heck, you could be spending time creating posts for your branding on LinkedIn. You could be doing all that kind of stuff. And you know what that could be equating to for you? It could be equating to doing one push-up a day. Will you get results? Eventually, right? I would imagine if you keep staying consistent, you'll eventually get results. Side note, I have multiple friends on LinkedIn that I've connected with over the years that have 20,000 plus followers. Some of them are from the industries that I've been a part of. And I asked one the other day, I said, hey, so you post 3 times a day, very consistent about your brand, and you actually talk about selling as well and selling these sort of products inside of your posts. I said, how much business have you gotten over the last few years building up that brand on LinkedIn? And I'm expecting something, right? Because I know that if you're consistent, you'll get something. If you're doing one push-up a day, you'll get something. And he says, Derek, I haven't gotten one deal from all this effort. I haven't sold one deal. So he's being consistent. He's being consistent. He's building his brand. Sure, it's great. He's got more followers than he did before. Great. Is that the goal that he was looking for? I don't know. Because the goal he might have been looking for in sales is to make more money. And the goal you might be looking for in sales is to make more money. But how you're spending your time might not be the right way. You could consistently be doing the wrong things every single day. Here's the reality of all this about being consistent. Consistency is just habits, right? That's what it is. Consistency is habits. And whatever you're doing today, whether you're doing something you think that's getting you towards your goals or you're doing nothing, whatever you're doing today, you are being consistent. You're consistently doing the wrong things, or like this rep I just mentioned that sold more in this 1 month than he did in the past 6 months. You're either doing the right things and being consistent doing the right things and knowing that they do add up to what you want in the end, or you're consistently doing that one push-up a day where you're hoping you get the results you want. You have habits today that you live by whether you like it or not, whether you even want to admit it or not. You don't need to buy a book. You don't need to buy anything out there that teaches you how to set new habits. You already are a pattern of habits. Everything that you do today are habits. And somewhere along the line, you chose those habits. You chose to be consistent in those habits. You should ask yourself, though, am I consistently doing the wrong thing? Or do I know that I'm consistently doing the right thing? So here's my success habit for you today. You need to be intentional. You need to be intentional about what you're being consistent in. You need to know what your goals are clearly. And you need to find out what are the things you need to become consistent in every single day that will get you those goals the fastest, right? What are the processes that you're following right now that will get you the results you want with the most accuracy in the shortest amount of time? Because once you learn the right activities for your business and you get serious about being consistent with that, you're intentional every single day, knowing that you are spending your time maximizing on the right activities and being consistent on those, you're going to find that success is a given. It's going to happen. Just like this rep that wrote over $100,000 this month. the best month he's ever had, better than he did in the last 6 months. It's all because he learned processes that he needed in sales that he just needed to be consistent in. He just needed to be taught the right things, and he just needed to make them a habit. And when you do that, when you're consistently doing the right things, like I mentioned, success is guaranteed. So take a look at your habits today. Take a look at what you're intentionally or unintentionally being consistent in, and just do a check to see if that's been proven to get the results that you want. Because there's a chance that you're consistently doing the wrong activities, and it's getting harder and harder for you to get to the goals that you want. If you want me to help you be on the right track, focus on the right activities and on the right skills, I recommend you come check out my Outliers community, because that's what I'm doing with every single person in the community. I am making sure that we are all doing things to not just be top performers in our industry, but to be outliers, to be exceptional, to have results that are far beyond everyone else. And it all comes down to being consistent, doing the right things. That's it for today's episode. Thank you for allowing me to join you on your sales journey. See you next time. Hey, if you enjoy listening to this podcast and you're a B2B salesperson looking for extraordinary results, you have to check out my Outliers community. It's my monthly coaching program where we build the skills and habits needed to take your sales results far beyond your peers and out to where the highest income earners are in your industry, or as I call them, the outliers. Join me in the Outliers community at www.modernSalesTraining.com/outliers. Make sure you type modernSalesTraining.com/OUTLIERS. I'd love to have you join me in my Outliers community. See you there.